and I was just talking to him, trying to keep him awake, holding pressure on his femoral artery.
Mhm.
And like his foot was, it was bad. It was really bad. It was just the one leg. He was kind of like in and out.
Welcome to the Calm in the Chaos podcast, where we discuss untold heroic experiences and dive into the mindset of the Navy's elite rescue swimmers. Hosted by former U.S. Navy Aviation Rescue Swimmer, Mount Everest solo summiteer, and best-selling author Brian Dickinson.
All right, Melissa Dixon. So excited to have you on the podcast. Thanks for joining.
Of course.
Yeah, so we spoke, man, has it been like 2 years ago?
I think so. It's
Yeah,
been a
when
while. Yeah.
I was doing all the research for the book, and one rescue went to another, and like a lot of people were like, you got to talk to Melissa. She's legit. She's up at Whidbey SAR, had some incredible experiences, different mission sets she was on, and so tracked you down. And you're a little evasive at first. I don't know if you're vetting me out like this, psychotic dude trying to write a book, and there's never been
Yeah.
a book written about us, but it was cool. I'm so glad we connected. Tell our audience a little bit about yourself. Like, where'd you grow up?
Okay, so I grew up in Washington State.
Where at?
North Seattle area. So I lived in Everett. There's a naval station there. There wasn't when I was growing up, not till a little bit later on. And then we moved to Mount Lake Terrace, which was a little bit closer to Seattle and the suburb of Seattle. Did most of my elementary school, middle school, high school there, graduated there. Moved back to Everett. My parents bought a house, joined the Navy out of there. Now my parents live in the mountains on the east side in Leavenworth in Washington State. It's kind of
So beautiful.
A lot of people know what Leavenworth is because of the popularity of the town. But Plain's about 30 minutes down the
Plain has a population of like 20.
Yeah. So when they moved there,
beautiful.
There was like the valley wasn't, there was no construction in the valley. There was a couple plots of land. There was one family that owned pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of blowing up now.
Yeah.
Which is cool and not cool at the same time. Not a small town, but still small town, but a lot of tourist stuff going on now.
Yeah, there's that one resort, like big cabin out there. My family's been out there a few times, went snowmobiling.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. It's a cool
Yeah,
spot.
the snowmobiles and the sled rides. It's pretty cool. That is a cool place.
Yeah. So then you went in the Navy.
Yep, joined the Navy out of Everett.
What year was this?
2002.
Okay.
April. So I was in boot camp in the summer, which was awful.
Was it? Great Lakes, right? Because everything else is shut down.
Mm-hmm.
See, everyone complains it's either freezing or it's too hot.
Right.
Like, what's the perfect time? I'd think April.
Right. And we were a little chilly, but we got the summer loadout. So, we didn't get the watch caps and the jackets and the gloves and everything. We just got the summer loadout. So we were kind of cold. And we were in the old ships. So the ship that you were probably in, they were building new ones back then. So it was, you're in your ship and then in the bottom was a galley. So like you did everything in the ship.
I have no idea about this. I went to Orlando.
Oh, okay. So in Great Lakes, you had your ship and then the galley was like centralized and you'd march to the galley for all your meals. So the new ones they were building, when I first got there was like one of them, and it was for the people that were transitioning in and out. The galley was downstairs. So it was very easy to get around. You didn't have to waste your time calling, getting in line. A lot of your day was wasted, right? Go in the galley.
Okay.
Anyway, so they we're building new ones. So kids I talk to now that are going through, they're like, oh, boot camp was so great. Like we got up and we walked downstairs, got in line. I'm like, oh, good for you. I marched a lot.
So was the dive motivator happening?
It was. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's, so now I work with I'm on active duty right now as reservist with NSW Assessment Command, and we outreach. We don't recruit, but we outreach for SEAL and SWCC, EOD diver, and then all the corpsman pipelines and rescue swimmer. So we train guys from the fleet. They can come to STAD. They can train up for their pipelines. And we take anybody. EOD has their own program, but we will take EOD candidates. We have a guy that wanted to be a SARC, come through there. We've had people that come to our swim program that train in there. And talking to those guys, they don't have dive motivator. So sometimes they'll train up and they'll get to boot camp and they have 3 months of zero things happening. They get out of shape and then they're expected to go into their prospective pipeline and crush it. Right. And they don't. So I think it's coming back.
Okay. Yeah, it kind of flip-flops. I know we had it and it was all combined. If it wasn't for that, I mean, I did get out of shape in boot camp anyways. You're just marching and, doing the boot campy stuff. But yeah, we were also, waking up at 4 a.m. and holding bricks over our head and all that stuff. So it was, at least that was fun. Something different.
I would have loved that. It's funny now that I like the things that are really hard and awful. When it's over, I'm like, God, it's awesome. Let's do it again. But
when your whole livelihood is on the line and, failure is like the difference of, I don't know, scraping barnacles or jumping out of helicopters, there's a lot of pressure, but you're right. I mean, man, I got paid to do what?
Yeah. Lots of silly stuff, but it's still fun. Yeah.
So you were a surface swimmer initially, right?
Yes. So I went to, I was stationed in Norfolk on a destroyer. I checked in and they're like, oh, hey, you're in pretty good shape. We need a rescue swimmer. And they're like, can you swim? It's like, well, yeah. We're in the Navy, but yeah, like, no, like quality. Really, can you swim? Right. I said, well, yeah, I grew up swimming, I was on a swim team once. Sure. So they sent me to rescue swimmer school. And that was basically like the beginning. So
now, where was that? Was that in Norfolk, the rescue swimmer school, or did you have to go to San Diego?
I went to Jacksonville.
Okay. They
had a surface rescue swimmer school there.
Okay. Said one in San Diego and Jax.
Yep. Yeah. I actually never knew where the San Diego one was until I left to go to Whidbey. And one of our corpsmen got stationed there, and I went to visit, and I was like, "Oh, this is, it's cool seeing the environment." But it was on, I think 32nd Street.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, very busy base already, and then they throw a school in there.
Nice. Well, how was that school?
It was tough. So, ATG here used to do training once a week. And I would go there and we'd learn a little bit of disentanglement. So basically we would just get fit to go. And I actually failed my first PST for the push-ups. So back then it was 60 push-ups. So I got to I remember at 47 and I just couldn't go anymore. And they were like, I was getting ready to go on the boat. So getting ready to go on a boat debt. If I pass this, I get to go to school. So I get to stay, go to school, not worry about anything. So it was a total disappointment. I was like, this is not happening again. So I took it again, I think 2 months later, and just crushed it. I did over 60 push-ups. I went crazy. The pull-ups were a little difficult, but I couldn't do any before I started training for it. So did that, went to school. Actually, I can't remember the month, but I was the lowest ranking person there. We had some Egyptian officers in the class with us. We had a ensign in the class with us because, they send anybody that can really pass a PST and qualify.
So anyone can be a surface swimmer, like officers, enlisted.
That's how it used to be. I mean, this was 2002. So,
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm very
um,
unfamiliar. I know they exist.
yeah,
I've seen them on the carrier, but it's a separate world.
it is. Yeah, it's completely different. The only difference though, so school was great. It was hard. I'd never had like been pushed that hard before. So a lot of our training was in the pool. We ran once a week. Um, we got our butts whooped, SP and C's in the afternoon every day. And it was very tough. But like I've never quit I never even thought about quitting. I never quit anything before. So I was just like, God, this is awful. Like, what did I sign up for?
There's not an option, but this sucks.
This sucks. But I had all my boys with me that were like, this sucks all together, right?
Yeah. How
But
many other females were in your class?
it was just me.
Yeah, so that's huge.
Yeah. It was cool. It was all the instructors were what a Sierra crewman. Most of them back then were like ADs and stuff, they're maintaining. It was cool. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be
Glad I
interested,
did.
as we go into the aviation SAR, just the differences. But before we do that, so you graduated, you deployed,
Mhm.
and
Oh yeah.
did you have any experiences as a surface swimmer?
Yeah. So I forgot about that. We actually did. It was a workup. We were getting ready for deployment, and we were doing VBSS ops, visit board search and seizure. So we had our crew, security force of the crew members, and then they would go on like board vessels, and we had to get a certain amount of visits, before deployment, like practice visits and stuff. So we're on a workup.
So that's like you launch on a rib, or
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
And then do you have like what is the personnel on something like that? Do you have Marines involved? Is it all Navy?
So we were on a destroyer. We didn't have any Marines. It's typically, if I can remember correctly, the coxswain, a boat officer, an engineer, and then a swimmer. And then you'll have, so if it's a SAR, then you'll have a gunner's mate with a rifle to shoot sharks, just in case. And then you'll have the crew of the VBSS team. So at one point as well during the workup, the davit to put the boats into the water broke. So they had to put one of the boats, so they sit nose to nose like this on the side of the destroyer. And so one needs to be turned around, and then you lower it, but it was broken. So we had to do everything manually. I kind of just watched because I was the swimmer and all the bosun mates did everything. But
So are you totally dressed out at this point, or?
Yep, we're getting ready to go. It's pinky time, so it's a nighttime VBSS. And all the officers are up on the bridge because they got to get their qual. Like there's a lot going on. It was nice because we had a very experienced BNC on deck. He actually became a warrant officer very shortly after that. But so we put the boat in. He's like, "Hey, we have to come to an all stop to put the other one in because we have to put it in backwards, right?" And then because of the waves, right, the waves next to the ship, we capsize, all that other stuff. So they're like, "Got it." Put the one in. They go to the back of the ship by the flight deck to put the crew on board, right? So they're going down, and we're going. I don't remember the speed. But we had a little bit of waves, so they're going steady, whatever the speed is for VBSS ops. And the bow line was attached. So there's a line that you attach to the front of the boat, the rib, to keep you attached, right? So that the coxswain doesn't have to do a lot of work. They can just make sure that the boat stays next to the ship. People can get on board. Once everyone's on board, you release the bow line.
Okay.
Or the bow line. So BMC was like, "Hey, they're connected. We need to back down so we can put the other ship or other boat in the water." So they all stop, right? So it creates a huge wake because the screws are right under the flight deck, and the rib boat flips over, right?
Oh gosh.
So, and it's still attached. And like someone was like, "Oh, the boat flipped over." The guy that was on the bow line was like, "The boat flipped over," and I was like, "What? What's going on?" So, there was the only people in there were the engineer, the coxswain, and the swimmer. So I was like, "Get the fucking boat in the water! Like, we're stopped. Like, let's go!" Right? So it was awesome. So that goes. So the man overboard alarm goes off, and our other swimmer that was like our backup swimmer, we're all getting in the boat. We're all like, "Let's go, let's go, let's go!" And the nice thing is, someone threw a ring out that had a light on it when they went over, so they had that, and they were able to see them as it got dark.
Was it like a strobe, or was it?
Yep, it had the strobe. The one that flips over and it blinks, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So they were able to keep eyes on them the whole time that we're trying to freaking get in the water.
Yeah.
So we get on board. They even typically we didn't have a gunner's mate with us for VBSS, but he jumps on board, and then the other swimmer was like, "I'm coming," and like jumped into the bow of the boat as we're going down, and I was like, "Awesome," like, welcome. So then we're just talking about the plan, like, "Hey, like, I'll go in, you assist me with everything, the backboard, all the stuff," and he's like, "Got it," So surface swimming is easy. You just get on the edge of the boat and like kind of push yourself off and get in and do all the stuff, and then.
But you're attached with
not on the boat. So when you're attached to the ship, so if you go into the water from the ship, you have to have a line.
Okay.
So they don't lose you, basically. But when you're with the rib boat, you just get off. They can maneuver and get you.
Okay.
They need to get you.
I probably messed that up in my book.
Oh, it's okay. So we get to them, and I just do my little thing. I get in the water. The swimmer and the coxswain were together. Actually, we found the engineer first. He gets out. He's like, "I'm not injured." And we're like, "Cool." And I was like, "Hey, he's not injured. Get him." And they're like, "Got it." Helped him get in the boat. The coxswain and the swimmer were together. The swimmer was in the ring. And the coxswain was like, "Hey, he's hurt." And I was like, "Hold on." Okay. I was like, "Okay, what's wrong with him?" And he's like, I don't know, his leg is cut. So I was like, "All right, get in the boat." So he gets in the boat, and I was like, "We need a backboard." So I go down and look, which, you got, what is a chem light on your map?
Yeah.
It's dark by this time. And I was like, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "My leg," and he was like holding on. Like he was hurt really bad.
Yeah.
And we were like, "Okay, cool. Like, we're getting you on the backboard. We're getting you on the boat. We're going."
Is that pretty much procedure, backboard?
Yeah. So it's like, oh gosh, what do we do? So if he's injured and you so someone ejects, the procedure for getting them into the small boat would be putting them on the backboard and then going up head first. You go under the water. You say 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go under. Once you feel me, go up. You pull, and I'll push from the bottom, and then.
Okay, as you're kicking.
Yeah. And this one, we treated it as that. Like he wasn't able. His leg was almost cut off, actually.
Oh wow.
But we didn't know that until we got him out and we could assess everything and see what was going on. So got him on the backboard, got him aboard. Then we just left him on the side of the boat, and I was just talking to him, trying to keep him awake, holding pressure on his femoral artery, and like his foot it was bad. It was really bad. It was just the one leg. He was kind of like in and out. Got back to the ship. We left him on the side of the ship when they raised us up on the davit, because like certain things, they're like, "Oh, you guys all have to be inside, hands and arms inside the ride at all times." And we were like, "No, we're just go. Like, let's go." Right. Got him on the boat deck, called him medevac. We were in the Florida Keys. I'm not sure who came and got him, but a helicopter came and got him. Called for a medevac. They put 2 IVs in him. And it was great because there was a really good medical team that came and assisted with packaging him and getting him onto because we had to put him on the rescue litter and then put him in the aircraft. But yeah, it was pretty gnarly, and we didn't really know how bad it was until we tried to put this battle dressing on him, the back of his leg, and like everything shifted. Like,
oh wow.
Yeah. But he was good. He was holding on. He was in Bethesda for a really long time. But he can walk now. He's doing great. But he was another swimmer, right? So it was kind of like very unexpected, right?
Yeah, no kidding. You wouldn't expect that. So what actually happened? Like, how did he cut himself?
Well, we don't know. So he was on the bow. So right. So he was on the bow. As swimmers, typically we have to get the bow line qual. And you just, hey, we're done, because we sat on the bow, right? We sat in the front all the time. And they're like, hey, you do the line. So he was on the front. He also had a contusion on the front of his head and the back of his head. Oh, wow. So we think he because it flipped towards, we think he hit the ship, right? And got mushed and then went through something on the boat that cut him, right? Somehow.
It wasn't like a rope burn that cut through or anything. It was definitely.
It was clean. And maybe, I'm not sure. It's been such a long time. Because we saw him in the hospital, but they didn't say if it was a clean cut or not, what actually did it. It seemed pretty clean. I mean, it was right through everything, Then, so he leaves, right? Chaos is gone. We go to medical. They're cleaning the blood off of us, make sure we don't have any injuries ourselves. And then they're like, hey, the captain wants to see you on the bridge. So we go to the bridge. And I was a signalman. So I worked with the captain on a regular basis, right? So I saw him every day. And he was like, great job, you guys. Everything's all good. He's on his way to the hospital. You guys did great. We got to go get the rib boat. So
great work. Here's more work.
Right. And they actually were like, hey, we marked it. This is what we want you guys to do. We want you guys, this flipped over. We want you guys to go get the boat and then swim under. So this hook for the boats is huge, right? It's this giant mechanism that it's a fucking boat hook, right? And he's like, do you think you guys could take that and swim underwater with it and hook it up to it underwater?
It's asking too much. You're a rescue swimmer. Come on.
I mean, for him, he's like, I can't. We know where it's at. We got to get it, right? And we were we looked at each other and we were like, yeah. In my brain, I'm terrified. That doesn't sound fucking fun at all, especially after what just happened. And then,
yeah, you're still coming down. You're processing everything
under a rib boat next to the ship. You know what I mean? The waves, it was, I want to say a 2 sea state. There's a sea state. It's not calm. It's dangerous. So the whole time out there, I'm just thinking about it the whole time. So we get the boat, they attach it to ours, we start towing it. And we're going up a swell, and we come back down and we go because we're towing the boat. So it was just taking all night. And then we hit this giant swell and it flips a rib boat over.
Oh gosh.
And we were like, yes, we don't have to do this crazy thing anymore. And it was such a sigh of relief. I was so not looking forward to that, but I was going to do it. But it would have really sucked.
That's fun. It's interesting because you look back, when you're in, authority, whatever, they're asking you to do some stupid things.
Yeah.
We landed on the Iraqi border because there was a bunch of think it was my first deployment to the Gulf, because there was a bunch of camels and they wanted a picture with camels in the back, like next, like stupid stuff, right? And I'm out there taking pictures. Their pilots are just holding it steady there. And then I'm thinking, this place is littered with landmines. I step in the wrong place and it's pink dust. And
Yeah.
and then yeah, out in the distance, this truck, like this gunner truck or whatever, it's just this, you just see the dust coming towards us. We're like, oh crap. Like we're definitely not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
They're taking off. I run and just like dive in as we're taking off. And me and the other crewmen just get on the left and right guns and get out of there. I don't know if we took any fire or anything, but it's just,
Yeah.
you think about it, it's just so stupid. Hey, Dickinson, why don't you hop out and take a picture? Okay.
Sure.
20-year-old me. Sure.
Yeah.
And then poof, I'm
Yeah.
gone. Like,
Yeah.
oh, oops. How do we explain this?
Right. Yeah.
So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Mhm.
I haven't talked to many surface swimmers. So that's cool. And it's cool because, you went from one to the next. Like what made you want to become aviation rescue swimmer? I know it's SAR swimmer, helicopter rescue swimmer, air swimmer. I don't know what it was when you were in. They called it helicopter rescue swimmer, and when I was in, now it's aviation. So we're going.
Yeah. It's like AIRR, air rescue now. I'm not sure. I don't even really know. I was like a yes man back then. I was like, oh, I'll try that. I'll try that. Like, not a care in the world,
Mhm.
So I was a signalman, and they're merging it with quartermaster. And they're like, well, so I took the QM2 test actually to get out of my rate because we had to choose at a certain point.
Mhm.
So they're like, hey, I just had to take it before like I chose a rate because the exam was coming up. So they're like, all right, what are you gonna do? And initially I was like, I'll just be a bosun mate. Like I do this all the time anyway. Like half the time I was on the boat deck doing bosun mate stuff anyway.
Mhm.
And
Is that like a cool job? My brother was that, so I don't.
I think if you're doing like probably on a carrier, no.
Yeah.
We did a lot of small boat stuff. And there was cool stuff that bosun mates could do, but mostly it's not that great. You're painting the ship and doing a lot of maintenance on everything. You don't really
important jobs. Just
right.
wasn't a part of your plan.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I'll just do that, And then my divo we had a new divo, and he was like, no. And I was like, come on, sir, like, it's fine. And he's like, no, it's not. Like, you're a rescue swimmer. You can do this job. And I said, okay, I'll do it. So we put a package in. We were on deployment. I had to go to like 4 different ports to get my physical done.
Oh, wow.
And
So who even does that? What are you talking about? Like medical, physical, or?
Yep. So I had
Okay.
to go because you have to do a flight physical. So I had to
That's
do,
right.
go to I think like 4 different ports to call and see if they were able to. I mean, flight physicals aren't that difficult, but like if they would do labs and stuff like that for me.
Mhm.
So I did that, put my package in, and then got approved eventually, and then left in 2004 for Pensacola. Then I went to aircrew school, and then rescue swimmer school, and then I went to AWA school, which back then I was a Foxtrot hotel crewman. So I did the acoustics, dipping sonar.
Yep, that's what I did.
Yeah.
So okay, so you just blushed right over rescue swimmer school. Let's bring you back. So having gone through surface and then going, I mean, there's a lot of overlap. So you definitely had a leg up, but yeah, let's talk about that experience.
So I wasn't ready because I get to aircrew school, and there's like, kids standing at attention on the quarterdeck, waiting to talk to instructors. And, I'm an E4, like, what is going on around here? I just need to get to my room. I have to like ask permission to go to my room, and, all the because everyone's out straight out of boot camp typically.
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Eventually, I moved out of the barracks, and they gave me like a fleet returnee room, so that was nice.
That's cool. Was that on base?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it was different. So when I was at surface, we're all fleet returnees. We got treated with a, like big boy, big girl rules. Like, this is when you have to be here. We didn't get like yelled at all the time. It was very like, it was chill.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get to aviation, it's like back to the boot camp stuff. They're yelling at you. The only stress was getting yelled at. And when are you going to yell at me about something this other guy did? Because, he's straight out of boot camp. So, yeah. And we didn't have a schoolhouse either. We had to use.
Oh, this was right after the hurricane.
Yeah, the hurricane. So it was stressful. I mean, we had to go from the aircrew pool to the Dunker pool and like find, places we could train.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a tower to jump out of? They have one in aircrew?
We used, they had one at the aircrew pool, and then there was at the Dunker, there's a little tower, and it has those spray. So then, when we were doing our final multi, they turned the rotor wash on. But surface school, the first day you're there, they measure you, they give you your own gear, and that's your gear. They give you a locker in the locker room. You maintain your stuff, take care of everything for the time that you're there. Aviation, it's just a room full of wetsuits and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, pick one, right? So, and this is every day. So every day we would pick whatever we're going to wear and then wash it off and put it back. So like you find something that fits you, and I'm the smallest, right? Only female. So I find a wetsuit that fits me. I find gear that fits me. And I'm like, all right, everyone, whatever you guys got. And I wasn't class leader yet. I eventually became the class leader because I made E5.
Nice.
And they were like, hey, I was like, whatever you guys got, remember what it is. If you're comfortable in it, and just, we'll all wear the same stuff so we don't bone each other. That didn't always happen. So some days you'd have to train all day and gear that didn't fit you. I understand the attrition rate, so why buy people their own gear if they're not going to make it through?
Yeah.
But that sucked.
I don't even remember that.
Pretty big time. Like we had, the big mask, the big square mask. Mm-hmm. Those didn't fit me. So when I got to my command, they had to buy me one that fit me. That was authorized. It's just, it's training. It is what it is. You got to figure out how to make things work. But, so say you got to clear your mask and you can't because it doesn't fit you.
Yeah, it's already full of water.
So you got to clear your mask and you got to be sneaky. Like you keep, you clear your mask and then you come up and you kind of, before you get to the top again, because it's just going to fill with water,
Yeah. Well, even then you probably had it torqued down so tight that it's actually, and long hair. So yeah, there's a lot of things working against you.
Yeah. I mean, I figured it out. I'm so glad we didn't have to wear helmets back then. Because they wear helmets now, like all the time.
Yeah, I still don't understand that.
It would be nice. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I haven't done any rescue swimmer training since they brought the helmets in.
Mm-hmm.
I know why they have it. I just don't think it would be absolutely necessary to have it on all the time.
Right. Yeah, like in training. But you train with all your gear day one. So from that perspective, you want to be comfortable with everything.
Yeah.
You said why they have it? Why do they have it?
Because people were getting smoked in the head with like the rescue basket and devices that were getting sent down to them in the water. And the Coast Guard wears them, we wear helmets when we do overland rescue, obviously. So it's smart, like say you're swimming around and there's debris, you don't want to get hit with something floating in the water.
Yeah. There's probably been a few instances of that. I just wonder, like from a buoyancy, I mean, even like life-saving, you're not going under anymore. Everything's above water
Hmm.
jiu-jitsu, above surface. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I'm all for whatever makes sense. And
Hmm.
I know there's smarter people that, just because we did it a certain way doesn't mean it was right.
Right. And that there's not a better way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Always learning.
Hmm.
Okay. So you didn't have a rescue swimmer pool. You were borrowing the aircrew ones.
Hmm.
You were using gear that didn't fit.
Yeah.
You got upgraded to E5 halfway through. And did they just on the spot say you're the class leader?
Well, it was pretty fun. I was the only female. I was an E4 and I had an E5 with me in my class, and he was class leader. They frocked me and then immediately fired him. I think they just wanted me to be class leader because I was a female,
Yeah.
like it's
Let's
pretty
disrupt
funny.
it. How was that
Uh,
being a female going through obviously a male dominated, role there? So that must have
oh,
been.
yeah. The first time through surface, it was fine. But then aviation was a little different. The guys are a little bit more macho, depending on who it is. But I had a blast. Some of the guys I still talk to. Um, some of them really irritated me. But I guess, that's like being in a leadership role. You just kind of got to figure out how to make things work.
Yeah, how like being a leader in SAR school, I mean, I don't know, like you don't want the spotlight on you. Like in certain schools, you just want to like get through and do your thing. Like how was
Right.
that?
It wasn't bad, like I don't really remember. I remember that it was cold there at night, and I bought everyone a watch cap so that when we left the pool and we had to march back to the schoolhouse, we could wear a watch cap because I had long hair then too.
Hmm.
And everybody agreed. I bought like everyone a $5 watch cap, and everyone is
Cool.
pretty much agreeable. There's a few times where everyone has their emotions and they're tired of being in school already and they want to move on.
Yeah.
But it wasn't bad. I mean, I was already a swimmer, so I didn't really struggle. So in that regard, I was proving myself more. I wasn't like the class leader that sucked, right? If you're a leader, you want to lead from the front. You don't want to,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we've
be
we've
last,
seen
be
we've
last
seen
at
both,
everything,
right?
right? Yeah, right.
That's awesome. So there's such a high attrition rate, in SAR school. What do you feel was the differentiator for you? All these people are dropping out. Why didn't you?
I don't know. Yeah. I never. So okay. So let me tell you this. When I was in surface school, the first thing they tell you, oh hey, welcome to class. Here's our TTO DOR policy,
Hmm.
and I was like, oh, what?
Training timeout,
Right,
up on
and
request.
drop on request, and I was like, people do that? Like that's a thing?
Like, why are
Um,
you here if that's even an option? Yeah, I know.
people quit. So get to aviation, same thing.
Same mindset. Now, was that
Right.
ingrained in you? Like you went into that
Hmm.
into surface and aviation. So was that ingrained into you by your family, or where do you think you gained that never quit attitude?
I don't know. Like and I try to tell my kids because they tell me all the time, like, I can't, or I'm just not going to do this. And I'm like, well, like, it can't be that hard. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Hmm.
I think just it was something I wanted to do. And I said I was going to do it. And yeah, it's hard, but it's not impossible. Right. I don't know. I just think I didn't want people to see me quit. Like, well, that guy's not quitting. Why would I quit?
Yeah.
Um, and we didn't really have any quitters. We just had people that would fail like an evolution
Hmm.
and they get rolled.
Yeah.
So a lot of the guys that were in my classes, even when my class first started, some guys got rolled for like their first multi.
Hmm.
Um, which, whatever, you just need a little extra training, but they didn't have time to work with them, or, you got to move on.
Yeah.
So they they rolled in like, a lot of us were just like, make up games like, okay, who's going to be the fastest? We had this one guy in our class that was like a junior Olympic swimmer. So he's just smoking everybody. And it's like, how close can we get to him? Like, or how much are you going to beat us by today? Like, it was just kind of like, it's like a game, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just got to make it fun. And
yeah, you got to make it through the next evolution, get it through every day. And then,
we had this guy, and they used to mess with me hard. I had this guy in my class that was just muscular. He was dense. He was just a rock. And every time we had to do buddy towing, they put us together.
Oh, gosh.
just to mess with me just a little bit. And I'm like, I just want you guys to know it's going to take a while. And they were like, like, it's going to get done. And that's the name of the game though, right? We need to be challenged. We need to prove that we can do this. If I get a giant 200-pound dude that's completely dense, can I do the job?
Yeah. Did you have any female instructors?
I did. Yeah, she was there for a little. She was there. She didn't necessarily like teach my class, but yeah, she was around, and she was great. She was like always there if I needed to talk to her, and yeah.
So I know they didn't even have like separate showers or bathrooms or anything, in the definitely back in the old school. Was that the same, or was air crew because it was a little more diverse?
Yeah, so air crew, we did have our own locker room, and the air crew know me. Yeah, so both places I had my own locker room, but it was kind of stressful because I was the only one. So I didn't have
you'd be in there by yourself,
accountable, right?
Yeah.
So it was like I was always in a rush. And then as class leader, I had to be the first out, right?
Yeah.
To make sure everyone's good. And I think being alone was the stressful part.
Yeah.
And when I was in surface, so the same thing for both, they put you in the locker room before your final multi. And I'm in there alone.
Yeah.
Waiting by myself. Like,
yeah, that's tough.
My thoughts.
Yeah, being alone. I mean, that's even, as we as veterans, when you're in the mix, you're always active, and you're dealing with, or not dealing with, trauma, but you just keep moving forward. That's a big issue when you get out, for a lot of veterans, because now you have that alone time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost kind of that's similar. You can get in your own head. Sounds like you overcame it because you were the leader, and you were just busting through stuff, just getting dressed, getting out there, making sure everyone is doing their thing. That's probably frustrating too, because you can't go in the guys' locker room to yell at any slackers.
I was annoying though. I'd be like, knock, knock. Hey, what are you guys doing? We got like 2 minutes. It would be to the point where it's like, oh, he's like, I'm in the shower. Like, just get out. You can shower later.
I know. You're literally going in the pool.
Yeah. And it sucks sometimes when you're like, just don't do that. Come on. Like, I didn't shower. Typically I would walk in the shower with my gear on, rinse off, and get out.
Yeah. Yeah. I was the same. And put that stuff that burns your ears and your.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what
Hold on, I gotta do
still
this.
Do that.
It's like, oh my God, you're slow. Hurry up. Yeah.
Yeah. So you had mentioned you saw the helicopter behind me. That was my first jump out of SAR school. You mentioned that you still did SAR jumps out of rescue swimmer school, whereas now it's like at the fleet replacement.
Mm-hmm.
It's later in the fleet or in training.
I think it was like one jump, just to like see what it was like.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool.
Yeah. How was that? It
was fun.
Yeah. That make it all real?
Kind of scary. Yeah, it was a little scary. So when we first got there, we were like running around, doing training. And they were doing jumps that day. So they're like, this is going to be your job. And I was like, that is awesome. And then once I get in there, I'm like, oh my God, this is terrifying.
Oh, and did you fly out?
Uh-huh.
You actually flew out?
No, they picked us up,
Okay. When
air crew style, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
They picked us up, and we just jumped out, and then like swam back.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like oh God, just look at the horizon. Okay. And then you jump out and you're like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I think it's so important. Like, I don't know. I'm surprised they don't do that until later, because that in itself can induce so much panic. No matter what model, the rotor wash is just next level. The sound, just that whole environment. Like, most people don't operate well in that. And you're right. It was like intimidating. You go up, feel like, I've been training for this, I'm going to do it. And you put your mindset, you're going to do this. And then when you do, you're like, oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like one of those, I got to check my emotions, because you could freeze up real quick. It's a completely new environment. Mm-hmm.
Did you jump from a 60 or H3 or something else?
I don't remember.
Was it really big?
I think it was. Yeah. H3.
This was in 93. So it's like a decade before.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is, because that rotor wash, you are literally, it's one thing when you fly out and you jump, you see the horizon, you come down, you're at 500 feet down to 10, and it's one thing, and you do it, helicopter backs off. But that initial, like, rescue swimmer school jump, you're in the motor whaleboat or whatever brought you out, you jump off the side, you're sitting there, and they're coming in for the approach. And it's like, holy crap, like, this is real. I don't know if you guys were just swimming towards it or towing each other. But just swimming is one thing. And I don't know if you had a mask that fit at that point. Probably not.
Probably not.
So yeah, you just had all these different factors. But yeah, it's amazing, man. You push through that, and then you get into that calm underneath, where the actual fuselage is blocking the rotor downward force of the rotor wash. But then now the hook is coming down towards you, and all you're taught is, if you touch that before it grounds out, you're going to get electrocuted and die. And so it's like, all these factors involved, and just the screaming sound of the helicopter. So we didn't have earplugs. I don't know if they're doing that these days, or if the helmets or anything help out in any way. But yeah, it's real at that moment. Yeah. It's like, okay, this is what I signed up for. And
so back then as well, you got SAR pay in the frac. So your first flight is a SAR flight, and you go do SAR jumps.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty cool.
Where was that?
HS-10.
Okay.
San Diego.
Yeah. Yep. Same. Yeah. I don't know if it was the first flight for us or not, but yeah, when you're doing all the classroom work, and then you start operating in the helicopter, you're always bringing your SAR gear so that you can be SAR ready. Yeah. But then you're actually doing jumps. You're doing your 6 day and your 2 night. So and it's a little more real. But yeah, that is fun. Melissa Dixon. So you've had an incredible journey up to this point, and I'm so excited for the listeners to hear. I know a lot about this from your experiences, but for the listeners to hear about your time in the fleet, your experiences with SAR, and specifically around some of the mission sets that you did. So please tune in to the next episode to hear more from Melissa Dixon.
Thank you for listening to the Calm in the Chaos podcast. Please subscribe to be notified of future episodes. And if you enjoyed what you just heard, please leave a 5-star review on whatever platform you listen to podcasts. Until next time, get out there and make a difference so others may live.